Okay, hello again, folks. I just wanted to go through the 2007 tabular statement May entry and the 2nd December entry as well, just very briefly. So in order to do that, I just put in some of the relevant information from the start of the question, and that is the bank figure. There was an overdraft at the very start of 9,090. There was advertising prepaid at the very start of 1,350 in the assets, in the current assets. Down at the in the liability section, there was profit and loss figure of 58,050. Okay, so go to May first of all, and it said, received a bank statement on May 31st showing a direct debit of 3,000 to cover advertising for the year ended 31st of the 5th, 2007. So if we just deal with that on its own, first of all, showing a direct debit of 3,000. Direct debit is money that you pay out, usually to pay some kind of a bill. 3,000 to cover advertising for the year ended this. So first of all, if it's money you pay out, then it's money out of the bank, 3,000. Your bank account goes down by 3,000 euros. Okay. The second thing is that, again, we're not going to worry about, the date or anything like that for now, because we've seen this type of one before, and we know that all we're going to do is do a bit of a fudge right now in May and fix it in December. So the fudge we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to put 3,000 in the advertising prepaid section, because if we look at it, you paid 3,000 to cover advertising for a year, but the year ends on the 31st of the 5th, 2007. Now this tabular statement is 2006, so it means that you're paying for, here it's 31st of the 5th, so that's 5 months you're paying for of next year, or in other words, you're prepaying for it, paying in advance for it for next year. So it's going to go in the section under advertising prepaid, and so all we do is we put in whatever figure in here in the advertising prepaid section that will make my tabular statement, this particular column, balance. And we know that if there's already a minus 3,000 up on top and there's nothing going in below, well, if there's nothing going in below, then the bottom balance is going to be zero. So what do I have to put in here to make the top balance or total also be zero? It has to be a plus 3,000. And that's it, it's done. That's the May section. Now, at least if there had only been one entry in May, that would be done. Okay, then we'd have a total of zero down here, and perfect, we could continue on and fix it up at the 2nd December column. However, we have to look at, in this question, there's actually two things that happened in May. The second one was, where are we? A credit transfer received. First of all, look at the wording. Credit transfer is just transferring money from one account to another, but this is a credit transfer received. It means it's money coming into our account. So it's money that we received from somebody else. They transferred it directly into our account. The amount we received was 2,500, and it's to cover 10 months rent. So if we're receiving money for rent, then it's rent receivable. It's that gain as opposed to the expense rent that we pay out. So it's rent receivable we're talking about, and it's to cover 10 months in advance from May 1st. Now, if we just use our fingers for this again, 10 months from May 1st. So from May 1st to the end of May is 1 month, to the end of June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So we're up to 8 months there. It'll be 8 months to the end of the year, but we're paying, it says, 10 months rent. So that means the other 2 months must be for January and February of next year. So, it's not that we're paying, we're receiving money for rent for January and February of next year. So that means at the end of the year, someone will have paid us 2 months rent in advance. And we know that if a gain prepaid to us is regarded as a liability, isn't it? It's money that we owe back, or something that we owe to somebody, isn't it? So if that is the case, at the end of the year, we should have, down in our liability section, rent receivable prepaid. Rent receivable prepaid. So that's the first thing anyway. That tells us how we're going to deal with this second thing that happened in May. And how are we going to deal with it now? It was money that came into our account, 2,500. So in the bank up here, you're going to have a plus 2,500. Now I'm putting them in separately. You could, if you want, put the plus 2,500 and the minus 3,000 together and just have a minus 500 in here. I like to keep them separate because I think it's easier to see how you do the other entries that go along with it, and you can keep them separate. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is, when we're doing this now, is pretend that the first one wasn't there at all, and we're just going to treat this second item completely separately. So imagine you have a plus 2,500 in the bank there. You know that whatever the other entry you're putting in is going to go in this rent receivable prepaid section here. So you've got to ask yourself, what do I need to put in here that will give me the same total above and below? Well, currently there's nothing below, and there's a 2,500 above. So the total above is going to be 2,500. So I need to put a plus 2,500 below to make it balance. So if I put down this plus 2,500, then is it going to balance? Well, up on top we have plus 2,500 minus 3,000 plus 3,000. Well, these two cancel each other out, and then I've got a plus 2,500. And this down here just has a plus 2,500, so that's okay, all done. So that's the entry for May, first of all. And of course, you haven't done it properly. I mean, you've done the bank part properly. And as I say, I would advise you to put these in separately, even though you might see in the solutions when you're looking at the marking scheme, you might see it written as, if they have bank up here, it'll be written as maybe just minus 500. If their bank is down here on the bottom, it'll be plus 500 because it will be because the bank is plus down here when it's minus up here, basically. Okay, let's go for December column then. Let's fix what we've done over here. Okay, so looking at the first one again. Bank statement, direct debit, 3,000, cover advertising for the year ended 31st of the 5th, 2007. So what we're saying is 3,000 was to cover advertising for a year. Okay, so for 1 month then we'd have to divide that 3,000 by 12. So 3,000 by 6 is 500, so by 12 is 250. So it's 250 a month, okay? 250 a month. And we're saying you're paying advertising right up until the 31st of the 5th next year, 2007. So that's 5 whole months of next year at 250 euros per month. So 5 times 250 is 1,250. Okay, so we know that at the end of this year, at the end of 2006, we will already have prepaid insurance for next year of 1,250. And so that means in our, let's bring that up a bit, in our total of our advertising prepaid line here, it should say 1,250. Okay, because that's 5 months at 250 euros a month. Okay. But it's not going to say that unless we put something in here to change what we currently have into this 1,250. So currently, if I added across to total this line, it would be 1,350 plus 3,000, which is 4,350. I'll just write it down here. 3,000 plus 1,350, 4,350. Okay. And then I want it to be 1,250. So I want it to be reduced from this and end up at that. So how much do I want to reduce it by? Well, if I subtract the 1,250 from this, 3,100 is what I want it to go down by. So I put a minus 3,100 here. And then when I add this and this and this together, it gives me 1,250. So I always, with this type of thing, get the total first and then work out what I need to put in to make that total a reality. Okay, that's the first thing. Then, how do I balance that? Always, whatever you put in here, you balance it with something in the profit and loss. So if I was to balance this right now, what would I have to put into the profit and loss? Well, because this total would be a minus 3,100 here, I'd have to put in a minus 3,100 below to also have the same total down at the bottom here. So into the profit and loss, minus 3,100. Now looking at the other one, the rent receivable prepaid. Well, let's go back to the question again. Credit transfer received 2,500 to cover 10 months rent in advance from May the 1st. Now we already counted the months up and we said that includes that 10 months rent that you're paying includes 2 months worth of rent not that you're paying, excuse me, that you're receiving, includes 2 months rent that somebody has paid you for next year, for 2007. So if 10 months is 2,500, and be careful because this is where students get cut out, they end up dividing this by 12 as well, just like we did with the advertising, but the advertising was for a year. This is for 10 months. So if we divide this by 10, 2,500 divided by 10, we get 250. And if we know there's 2 months prepaid at the end of the year, 250 by 2 is 500. So our rent receivable prepaid at the end of the year should be in our total column 500 euros. Okay? If that's 500 euros, then we need to work out what do I need to put in here to make my total work out to be 500. Well, at the moment, because we didn't start with any rent receivable prepaid, if I added across here, the total would be plus 2,500. So to get it down to just a plus 500, I think it's easy to see we'd have to have a minus 2,000 in here. Okay, but again, whatever I put in here, I must put something else in the profit and loss account in order to make it all balance. So again, what I would say is treat them separately. Pretend, I just get something here. Yeah. Pretend that 3,500 wasn't there. Pretend that 3,100 wasn't there. That's both of those 3,100. What would I have to put into the profit and loss account if I have a minus 2,000 here in order to make the both of these balance? So ignoring the other entries, currently would say you have nothing above here and you just have a minus 2,000 in on the bottom half of your tabular statement. You would have to put in, just giving you a bit of time, you'd have to put in a plus 2,000, wouldn't you? Because a plus 2,000 would cancel with the minus 2,000 here, leaving you with 0 down here and you have 0 up here, and well and good, it works out. So plus 2,000. And again, I would advise put them in separately. You might see in the solutions that they've put these two together and they've called it minus 1,100. But I would say always put them in separately. Even if you're kind of squeezing them into one little box, that's fine. So let's see, does that balance then? You've got minus 3,100 up above. You've got, well, the plus and the minus 2,000 kind of cancel each other out, leaving you with just the minus 3,100 below, and everything balances nicely.